I am standing in the middle of a cobblestone street in a tiny Italian town I do not recognize. My phone dead, my wallet missing, and my husband's laughter still ringing in my ears as his car disappeared around the bend. This was supposed to be a fun weekend trip with his friends. Instead, it became the moment I realized just how little he cared about me. And by the time the sun set, I would learn something even worse. I was not alone in that town. I should start from the beginning, because if I do not, none of this will make sense. My husband, Daniel, and I had been married for 3 years when he suggested a trip to Italy with his college friends. It was supposed to be a celebration. Mark had just gotten engaged, and the group wanted one last boys' trip before he settled into married life. Except this time, they decided to bring me along. At first, I was thrilled. Daniel had always kept his friends separate from our relationship, so I took it as a sign that he was finally letting me in. Looking back, I should have known something was off. The plan was simple: fly into Rome, rent a car, and drive through Tuscany, stopping at small villages along the way. There were 5 of us: Daniel, Mark, Chris, Jake, and me. The only other girlfriend, Sarah, had backed out last minute, which meant I was the only woman in a car full of men who had known each other since freshman year. The first red flag came at the airport. Daniel and his friends were already laughing about some inside joke when I arrived at the gate. I smiled, trying to join in. But the moment I asked what was so funny, the laughter stopped. Mark gave me a weird look, and Daniel just shrugged. "You had to be there," he said. The entire flight was like that. They drank, they joked, they reminisced about parties and girls and stupid stunts they had pulled, none of which included me, even though Daniel and I had been together since senior year. I tried to brush it off. Maybe this was just how guys were when they got together. But then we landed in Italy. The rental car was too small for all of us, so I ended up squeezed in the back between Jake and Chris, their knees pressing into mine as Daniel drove. The further we got from Rome, the more the jokes turned mean. Little comments about how I was slowing them down because I wanted to stop for water, or how I was no fun when I did not want to take shots at 10 a.m. Then, around noon, Daniel pulled over in some tiny hilltop town, the kind of place with narrow streets and old stone buildings, so small that I doubt it even had a name on most maps. "We need snacks," he announced, turning off the engine. I unbuckled my seatbelt, assuming we were all getting out. But then Daniel turned to me with a smirk. "You stay here. We will be quick." I frowned. "Why can I not come?" Mark snorted. "Because you take forever picking shit out." Before I could argue, all 4 doors opened, and they were gone. I waited. 5 minutes. 10. Then I heard laughter. I turned my head just in time to see Daniel and his friends piling back into the car, except this time, Daniel was in the passenger seat, and Chris was behind the wheel. My stomach dropped. Wait. I reached for the door handle, but Jake yanked it shut from the outside, grinning. "Relax, babe," Daniel called through the window. "We are just messing with you. We will be back in 5. The engine roared, and then they were gone. I sat there, stunned, watching the car disappear down the winding road. Surely this was a joke, a stupid prank. They would circle back any second. But they did not. I checked my phone. No signal. My purse was still in the car. All I had were the clothes on my back, my dead phone, and a sinking realization. They had left me. On purpose. And I had no idea where I was. The first few minutes were pure disbelief. I stood there on the cobblestones, staring at the empty road, where the car had vanished, waiting for the punchline. Any second now, they'd come roaring back, laughing at how scared I looked. Daniel would jump out, hug me, say, God, you should have seen your face. And we'd all move on like it was just some dumb joke. But the road stayed empty. A cold, prickling dread started creeping up my spine. I turned in a slow circle, taking in the town, if you could even call it that. A cluster of weathered stone, buildings, a single cafe with chairs stacked on tables, an old church with its doors bolted shut. No people, no cars. Just silence, broken only by the distant caw of a crow. Okay. Think. I had no phone, no wallet, no way to call for help. I didn't even know the name of this place. The only words I could remember in Italian were ciao and grazie, which weren't exactly helpful right now. I walked toward the cafe, hoping someone might still be inside. The door was locked. I knocked. Nothing. A sign above the door read, "Chiuso per pausa," closed for break. Great. I tried the next building, an old bakery with a faded Panificio sign, also locked. The whole town felt abandoned, like everyone had just left. Then I heard it. A low, metallic creak, like a door swinging open. I spun around. Down the narrow alley between two buildings. A shadow moved. My breath hitched. Hello? No answer. I took a step closer. Is someone there? Silence. Then, a whisper of fabric. A footstep. I wasn't alone. I backed away, heart hammering. This isn't funny anymore. I needed to find help. Fast. I hurried toward the church, the only building that looked like it might have someone inside. The heavy wooden door groaned as I pushed it open. Darkness. The scent of old incense and damp stone. Hello? My voice echoed. No reply. I stepped inside, letting my eyes adjust. Rows of empty pews, a flickering candle near the altar, and at the far end of the aisle, a figure, a priest. Relief flooded me. Excuse me, mi scusi, I need help. My friends left me here and I... The figure turned. Not a priest. A man. Tall, gaunt, wearing a tattered coat that looked decades out of style. His face was half hidden in shadow, but I could see his lips curl into a slow, unnerving smile. Sola? He murmured. Alone? I froze. Every instinct screamed run. I backed toward the door. I'm sorry, I'll just... He took a step forward. I bolted. The second I burst back into the sunlight, I didn't stop. I ran blindly, turning down alleys, skidding on loose stones, my lungs burning. I didn't look back. I didn't dare. Finally, I stumbled into a small piazza and nearly cried with relief. A woman, an actual living person, hanging laundry on, a line between two buildings. Please, I gasped, rushing toward her. I need help. My friends, they left me, and there's a man. She turned, and my blood turned to ice. She looked wrong. Her skin was too pale, her eyes too dark, her smile too wide, like a doll's face stretched over bones. Sei perduta, she said softly. You are lost. I stumbled back. She reached for me. I ran again. This time I didn't stop until I reached the edge of town, where the cobblestones gave way to a dirt road, winding through vineyards. My legs shook. My chest ached. But at least I was out of that place. Then I heard it. An engine. I whirled around. A car, their car, was speeding toward me. For a second I thought they'd come back. That this nightmare was over. Then it sped past me. No brakes. No slowing down. Just Daniel's face in the window, staring straight ahead. Like he didn't even see me. The car disappeared down the road in a cloud of dust, leaving me standing there in numb shock. He saw me. He had to have seen me. But the way his eyes had looked right through me, like I wasn't even there, sent a new kind of terror slicing through my chest. I didn't have time to process it. Behind me, the town loomed, silent and watchful. Ahead, nothing but empty countryside. No signs, no houses, just rolling hills and twisting roads that all looked the same. I had two choices: go back into that nightmare, or start walking and pray. I found help before dark. I chose to walk. The sun was already dipping low, painting the sky in oranges and purples. Beautiful, if I hadn't been so utterly alone. My feet ached in my stupid sandals, the ones Daniel had joked were impractical when I packed them. Now, every step rubbed blisters into my skin. This isn't happening, but it was. And with every passing minute, the reality sank in deeper. Daniel had left me. Really left me. Not as a joke. Not as some dumb prank. He'd driven away and hadn't even hesitated when he saw me. What the hell was going on? I walked until the sky turned dark, until the only light came from the moon and the occasional flicker of a farmhouse in the distance. Too far to reach. Too far to even call for help. Then, just as I was about to collapse from exhaustion, I saw it. A small roadside inn, its windows glowing warm yellow. I nearly sobbed in relief. The door was unlocked. Inside, a dimly lit lobby, empty except for an old man behind the front desk. He looked up as I stumbled in, his bushy eyebrows lifting in surprise. "Americana?" he asked. I nodded, too exhausted to even wonder how he knew. "Please, I need help. My friends left me and I don't have my phone, or..." He held up a hand, then reached under the desk and pulled out a landline phone. I could have kissed him. Hands shaking, I dialed Daniel's number. It rang, and rang, and voicemail. I tried again. Same thing. What the hell? Then I tried Mark's phone, Chris's, Jake's. Nothing. All straight to voicemail like their phones were off. Or dead. Or, no. Stop. The old man was watching me, his expression unreadable. "Do you speak English?" I asked. He nodded slowly. "Little. I need a ride, to the nearest city, or a police station. Anything." He hesitated, then said, "No car here." My stomach dropped. "Then, can I stay here? Just for the night? I can pay you back." He shook his head before I even finished. "No room." I stared at him. "Please. I have nowhere else to go." For a long moment he just studied me. Then finally he sighed and reached for a key. One night, no money. I could have cried. He led me upstairs to a tiny room with a narrow bed and a flickering lamp. No TV, no phone, just 4 walls and a door that locked. Right then, it felt like heaven. I collapsed onto the bed, too tired to even think. Then, knock, knock, knock. I bolted upright. The old man's voice came through the door. "You eat?" My stomach growled. I hadn't eaten since morning. "Yes, please." A tray slid under the door, bread, cheese, a small carafe of wine. Simple, but more than I had. "Grazie," I called. No answer. I ate quickly, barely tasting. The food. The wine was strong, bitter, but it warmed my throat and dulled the edges of my panic. Then, just as I was about to lie down, I heard it. A car outside. I rushed to the window. It was them. Daniel's rental car idled in the driveway, headlights, cutting through the dark. The doors opened. 4 figures stepped out. My breath caught. They were here. They'd come back. I threw open the window, ready to scream at them, to demand answers. Then I saw their faces. Blank. Empty. Like they weren't even them anymore. And behind them, emerging from the shadows of the car, was the gaunt man from the church. He lifted his head, looked right at me, and smiled. The moment our eyes met, every hair on my body stood straight up. That smile wasn't human. It was too wide, too knowing, like he'd been waiting for me this whole time. I slammed the window shut so hard the glass rattled. My hands fumbled with the lock as I heard footsteps on the creaky wooden stairs outside. One set. Then two. Then, too many to count. The old innkeeper's voice rose in protest, then cut off abruptly with a thud. Something wet dripped through the cracks in the floorboards above me. I wasn't safe here. I was trapped. The doorknob rattled. "Babe?" Daniel's voice came through the door, but it was all wrong, flat and toneless. "Open up. We're here to take you home." My throat closed up. That wasn't Daniel. Whatever was speaking through him, it wasn't my husband anymore. I scanned the room for weapons. The lamp was bolted down. The wine carafe was glass, but tiny. Then I saw it. An iron fire poker leaning by the unused hearth. The knocking turned to pounding. Emily. This time it was Mark's voice. "We miss you. Come out and play." Splinters flew as the door jamb started to crack. I grabbed the poker just as the door burst open. Daniel stood there, but his face... God, his face was wrong. His smile stretched ear to ear, lips splitting at the corners. Behind him, his friends stood in identical rictus grins, their eyes black and shiny like beetles. "Found you," they chorused. I swung the poker with all my strength. It connected with Daniel's temple with a sickening crunch. He didn't even flinch, just kept smiling as dark, thick liquid oozed from the wound. Not blood. Something thicker. Something alive. I screamed and bolted past them, down the stairs. The lobby was empty, except for the old innkeeper's body sprawled. Behind the desk, his neck bent at an impossible angle. The front door was locked. From upstairs came the sound of laughter. Daniel's, Mark's, Chris's, Jake's, all blending together into one horrible sound. I smashed a chair through the window and climbed out, glass slicing my palms. I didn't feel it. All I felt was the primal need to run. The vineyard. If I could make it to the vineyard, maybe I could lose them in the rows of grapes. Moonlight guided my path as I stumbled between the vines. Behind me, I heard them coming. Not running. Not even hurrying. Taking their time. Knowing they'd catch me eventually. Then I saw the church spire ahead. The same one from the abandoned town. But that was impossible. I'd walked for miles away from it. The iron gate stood open. Inside, candles flickered to life one by one, illuminating the gaunt man standing at the altar. Waiting. The vines behind me rustled. I turned to see Daniel emerge. His face now fully split open like a grotesque flower, something pulsing inside. "Join us," he gurgled. That's when I remembered the old woman's words. "Sei perduta," you are lost, and lost things belong to him. I ran into the church. The heavy doors slammed shut behind me. They found my passport at the train station in Rome. My phone washed up near Naples. The rental car was discovered abandoned in a ditch with all the doors open, the seats stained with something the police couldn't identify. Daniel and his friends were never seen again. The official report says I must have gotten separated from the group, that it was a tragic accident. They don't believe me when I tell them what really happened. But sometimes when the moon is full, I hear knocking at my door, and when I look through the peephole, I see 4 smiling faces. Waiting. Always waiting. Come out and play.